Alfred wakes up and he gets his phone and goes on Instagram and scrolls for an hour. He then gets up and starts crying. He's very sad. He's sad, he realizes he's such a failure, but he is not interested, he's not motivated enough to actually do something about it. Men are not happy in today's day and age, but can you really blame them? The workers and the employees hired at these social media companies like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, they're all mainly hired simply for the purpose of making the app as addictive as possible. When you're addicted to these social media platforms, this drains your well-being and mental health. First, we're going to talk about why you're not happy and then how to overcome this to be the highest of your well-being possibilities. But first, we need to discuss how much of a problem this really is. Most men don't even realize how unhappy they are because they're so drowned up in all these things that are making them unhappy. Most men don't have a valuable life. Now, I'm not being offensive or anything. These same men agree with me. They think they have an unvaluable life too. If you look at suicide rates in the early 1900s, you see it's very low. And then in the late 1900s, it starts to go up a little bit. And then in the 2000s, it peaks and rises a lot. If you look around you and really look into people's eyes, almost none, if not none, of them are smiling or having a good time. But the people that you see that look visually happy and enjoying their time are usually with their family or their friends. You rarely see someone that's walking alone, smiling, or having a good time. And usually when they are, they're either on a phone call with their friends or their family. We haven't really recognized the importance of togetherness. Now, you may be neglecting this because of other reasons, and that can be good. But if you think about it, men used to be together in packs, and they used to work together all the time. And that was when men were happy and fulfilled. Mental health is one of, if not the most important factor of your life. If you have bad mental health, you can't do anything. Your brain controls all the functions in your body. So if your brain is unhealthy, you can rarely do much. Because if your brain is unhealthy, you're not going to feel motivated. You're not going to want to do anything. Because without good mental health, you're not going to be excited or motivated to do anything. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy with your life. Life is better when you're happy, for those of you who don't know. You may think that the reason you're struggling or you're demotivated is because of your physical health, but you have to realize it's all there in your brain. Let's talk about depression. Depression is when you recognize that you're a failure and you have a bad life and you're sad about it. The problem with depression is that we're sad because we're a failure. But you need to realize depression in some ways is a good thing. I mean, obviously, depression isn't a good thing. It's a mental illness, but you need to be grateful that you recognize that you are a failure. You need to be grateful that you recognize that you know you are not doing good in life. Because why would you be watching this video if you didn't know that you weren't succeeding? It's good that you know, because then you can do something about it. The main reason you're depressed is because you are overindulging on instant gratification activities rather than delayed gratification activities. Now, what are instant gratification and delayed gratification? You may be wondering this. Well, instant gratification is something that gives you pleasure right now and comfort right now, but affects you very negatively in the future. But delayed gratification activities are things that you do that are tough right now, but kind of benefit your future self. They make your future self feel fulfilled and happy and motivated to do things. Examples of instant gratification are video games, watching YouTube videos, indulging on social media, and drugs. And delayed gratification examples are, reading, work, going to the gym, things like that, getting exercise, going on walks. When you have good mental health, these delayed gratification activities actually start to feel fun, even though they're tough. The greatest thing you can do to solve this is by considering a dopamine detox, which is when you greatly reduce or even cut out fully all of the instant gratification bad habits in your life and greatly increase the amount of delayed gratification activities. A dopamine detox is one of the greatest ways to improve your mental health. What is commonly known as a dopamine detox is when you cut out everything pleasurable, everything fun from your life for only 24 hours. This is pretty wrong. Not all dopamine is bad for you. You may get pleasure from things that are productive and good for you. This 24-hour other type of dopamine detox can even be harmful because it can even include social interactions and healthy food sometimes. Dopamine is mostly perceived as the pleasure chemical, or, the hormone or whatever. I'm not into the sciencey stuff about that. But it can be used in other tasks like planning and even breastfeeding. This creates the illusion that dopamine is horrible. All dopamine is horrible. And it should all be gone. But it's really a different story. It's only the bad types of dopamine that we need to cut out from our life, like the instant gratification bad habits. If you want a dopamine detox, you need to do it the right way. We'll be talking more about it in the future. The next reason your mental health is poor is actually because you have low motivation. In the previous chapter, I talked about dopamine, but there's something that you need to know about dopamine. When you get a high amount of dopamine, more than you should, then once that goes away, you don't only go back to the medium, but you even go below the medium. So there's this yin and yang type of relationship between dopamine and pain, like pleasure and pain. So when you feel the more pleasure you feel right now, the more pain you'll feel later. But the more pain you feel right now, the more pleasure you'll feel later. The better you will feel later. Have you ever been outside in the winter and it was really cold and you wanted to get out of there? Like, it was very uncomfortable. But then once you got into the car or, the house or whatever where it was warm, you felt really good, actually. I was like, wait, this actually feels pretty good. It's that same thing. If you embrace pain like a real man, you will experience fulfillment and happiness and motivation afterwards. You need to feel more pain in your life because you'll become happier. Believe it or not, it doesn't sound real, but if you really think about it and do it, it makes sense. Also, make sure you're following along with these things. Take some notes as I'm talking to you. Now on to the third reason you have poor mental health and you're unhappy. This is anxiety. Now, there are different types of anxiety. There's fight or flight mode. There's this type of mentality that anything could happen at any moment. Anxiety can lead to panic or fear, which actually takes a major toll on your mental health, but also your physical health, if believe it or not. You might have anxiety because something bad happened to you in the past. You had trauma. And once you got out of that situation, you didn't want to go back to it. So you're always in this state of protecting yourself because you don't want to go back to that horrible situation that you were in. But again, like depression, we have to change our mindset about anxiety. It's not actually the worst. Your body, we actually have to be grateful for it, just like we do for depression, because our body is trying to protect us. We have to be grateful that our body is trying to protect us. If you want to cure anxiety, I think the greatest thing is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is when you are completely there and focused in the present moment. This is the opposite of mindlessness, which is when you are thinking of random thoughts every few seconds. And do you know what causes mindlessness? Social media. Ask yourself right now, and be honest. Do you use social media for educational purposes or for pleasure and comfort? Because I bet you 99.9% of people will say pleasure and comfort. Actually, no. Not 99.9% of people will say pleasure and comfort, but I bet you that is true for most people. It's the short form, uneducative content that ruins your attention span. It's things like TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, things like that. The short form, where you see information every 0.5 seconds, which isn't normal or natural. If you begin that switch from short form, uneducative content to the long form, educational, productive content, that's a big step in the right direction. To improve your mindfulness, you need to practice meditation. Meditation is when you literally just sit there and close your eyes and focus on a specific thing for 5 to 20 minutes or even longer. Most people get meditation wrong. Most people think you just, cross your legs on the floor and you close your eyes and you just sit there and whatever. But it's not like that. Now, you do sit there and you do close your eyes, but you have to focus on a specific thing, and most commonly that is the breath. So I'll do a little meditation session with you here. Close your eyes and think about your breath. Focus on your breath. If you do this for 5 to 20 minutes a day, every day in the morning, and you incorporate it into your morning ritual, I really believe it's going to help you. I will be posting a guided meditation video on my channel, but for now, just do what I said, close your eyes, focus on the breath for 5 to 20 minutes, and I recommend starting with 5 for beginners, but now we want to talk about the meditation cycle, which credited Hamza, who I will put in the description. The first step is you are focused in the present moment. Then, focusing on your breath, in and out. Then step 2 is when you lose your focus and you don't even realize it. So you start thinking about something else and you don't even realize you're thinking about something else. Which brings you to step 3, when you realize you're thinking about something else. Which then brings us to step 4, you go back to the breath. You're like, oh, I gotta go back to the breath. And then that goes back to step 1. Focusing on the present moment. Again, if you meditate for 5 to 20 minutes a day, I really think it'll help you. Finally, I want to talk about gratitude, which can play a big role in removing both your depression and your anxiety. I talked about being grateful for recognizing that you're depressed and being grateful that your body is trying to protect you from the dangers of the world. So now we want to incorporate gratitude into our day. The best way, and the way I do it, is by gratitude journaling. Now, what is gratitude journaling? Gratitude journaling is when you preferably write in a physical journal, preferably in long sentences, not long sentences, but full sentences about what you're grateful for. Write a few sentences a day about what you're grateful for. If you need to use your phone, you can use your phone, but if you have a journal, I recommend you use it to write down your gratitude. So write a few sentences a day about what you're grateful for, and this will change your life for the better. Now, what gratitude does is it forces good thoughts into your brain. It forces happy thoughts into your brain, because when you become grateful of something, when you recognize you're grateful of something, that immediately sends positive thoughts to your brain. Like, wow, some people don't have that. I'm actually happy I have that. And you become much happier because you are forcing those happy thoughts into your brain. Also, just a side note here, nature can also generate peace and happiness throughout if you're grateful and mindful for it. After everything I just said, I really believe this will change your life if you act on the steps and actually follow along with it and wrote notes. I genuinely hope you gain a lot of knowledge and progress from this video. And if I can do it, so can you. Peace out, and I'll see you later.